The Trell Dominion catalogued Earth as Tier 7, resource-abundant, biologically chaotic, culturally fractured, and militarily insignificant. Orbital analysis revealed primitive energy signatures and a curious emphasis on surface-based movement. Their orbital command dismissed the planet's native life as under-evolved and tactically irrelevant. Of the planet's surface, 70% was oceanic. The Trell didn't even bother scanning it in detail. Naval divisions were reserved for gas giants and aquatic colonies. Water, to them, was obsolete. Naval tactics hadn't been used in 2,000 cycles. Subsurface warfare was as outdated as combustion engines. Deployment was swift. 300 dropships passed through Earth's magnetosphere without resistance. An initial barrage of directed energy pulses silenced the few satellites that showed any sign of tracking them. The land-based resistance crumbled within days. Human military installations were overrun. Communications blacked out. The Trell saw this as confirmation. Earth was a backward world with no serious deterrent. The oceans remained untouched. Command flagship Verdran's Claw held orbit over the Atlantic Ridge. Monitoring nodes dispatched to survey tectonic activity were met with unexplained interference. Readings scrambled. The anomalies were attributed to magnetic flux. One technician noted irregular sonar feedback patterns echoing in rhythmic pulses. The analysis concluded it was geological resonance. The technician was reassigned for insubordination after persisting with the claim that the pulses matched deliberate linguistic cadence. Surface ships detected movement beneath the Caribbean Trench. Patterns too complex for natural current. Unregistered biomass signatures showed up in swarms, but none matched known aquatic predators. Trell destroyer Mantax 3 was sent to investigate. Upon reaching the coordinates, its transmission ceased 6 seconds after sonar contact. Wreckage was never recovered. The last data burst contained a scream from one of the crew, translated loosely as, "It's thinking." Command issued a statement blaming reactor instability. The official report dismissed enemy action. The Trell believed humans incapable of deep-sea combat, and they held no record of intelligent aquatic life ever posing a threat across the galaxy. Losses were tolerable. The oceans were declared a non-operational zone, irrelevant to strategic dominance. But the next to vanish was a command corvette stationed near the southern Pacific front. Oryx's Fong, shielded, armed, patrolling neutral waters, was torn apart in under 90 seconds. Black box data showed hull fractures from inside. Cameras recorded large shadows accelerating with unnatural velocity. Pings of sound struck the hull before every critical system's failure. The last frame showed thousands of points of light rising from the deep. At first, Earth's remaining defense networks assumed it was some natural disaster. Until sonar stations across the globe picked up converging signals, dozens, then hundreds, broadcasting in harmonized frequencies. Not static. Language. Patterns translated into binary. Structures resembling human syntax but filtered through frequencies outside human hearing. Dolphins. Coordinated. Deliberate. Possessing sentient pattern recognition, coordinated responses, and most alarmingly, strategy. Project Poseidon had been theorized decades earlier by military and neurological researchers. The idea that certain cetaceans, particularly dolphins and orcas, had developed a form of latent sapient intelligence. Experiments with sonic pattern learning had shown promise, but no proof existed of conscious alignment. That changed when 3 Trell Scout subs were found torn open with what appeared to be precision tools, but no metal marks, no explosives, only pressure bursts and incisions aligned with coral formations. One sub had its memory core removed, cleanly, without a trace of metal contact. The data leaked. Alien observers tuned in with disbelief. Across the interstellar network, commentators mocked the Trell for their failure. "Afraid of fish" became a trending phrase across dozens of systems. The Trell doubled down. They sent Vora-class battlers, retrofitted with aquatic deployment gear. Massive, dual-hull cruisers with anti-pressure shielding and autonomous torpedo systems. They entered Earth's oceans from high orbit. Descent velocity, terminal. Impact radius, 10 kilometers. They never resurfaced. A single fragment of their hull was found washed ashore in Chile. The rest disappeared without trace. No escape pods, no signals. The last entry in the command log was a sensor report. 6,000 synchronized clicks followed by absolute silence. A sonic burst so dense it shorted every system simultaneously. Hull telemetry revealed it came from below. The Galactic Council demanded transparency. Earth offered none. Global governments went silent. Not in panic. In accord. A unified blackout. Satellite coverage of oceans was quietly cut. Naval ships were withdrawn. Maritime traffic ceased. Earth, for the first time in its history, emptied its seas of human presence. Not in fear, but respect. Beneath the silence, the Dolphins continued. A new pattern emerged. Not random. Strategic containment of alien positions. Trail drop points near coastlines were isolated. Alien units moving near beaches disappeared. Automated underwater drones found themselves blinded. Sonar maps overwritten with static symbols. A researcher from a neutral planet managed to reconstruct the symbols. They matched ancient human warning signs. Biohazard, restricted, lethal force authorized. Meanwhile, Trell Command assumed it was a human psyop. They launched a retaliatory campaign. 30 cruisers in a synchronized sweep of the Indian Ocean. Their goal was total environmental sterilization. Depth charges. Anti-biological nanite deployment. The fleet dispersed and began systematic bombardment. In under an hour, communication ceased with all 30 vessels. No explosions were recorded. No wreckage surfaced. The only trace was a single transmission picked up by a Trell Observer satellite. A series of sonar pulses broadcast directly into orbit. When translated through human-assisted AI, they read, "This is your final warning. The ocean is not yours to command." The Trell responded with fury. Their flagship, the Karen's Spear, was equipped with continental disruptors and designed to obliterate planetary crusts. It positioned itself over the Mariana Trench and began descent. As it lowered, its magnetic shielding shorted. The ship's stabilizers began to fail. They detected anomalous pressure pockets forming in the water, simultaneous in all directions. Before emergency ascent could be initiated, the entire ship was crushed. Instantaneously. Hull stress reports recorded a synchronized external impact, pressure exceeding 10,000 psi in a controlled waveform. Engineers compared it to being hit by a continent-sized hammer of water. The ship didn't sink. It was forced down. No debris floated. Only shockwaves radiated from the trench, recorded even in space. The Trell could no longer deny the threat. The ocean had become an active combat zone. Not due to human involvement, but because an entirely independent, non-human intelligence had taken control of Earth's seas. An intelligence never acknowledged, never respected, and now never to be trifled with. The Galactic Zoological Consortium launched an unauthorized probe toward Earth's oceans. They argued the dolphins could not have evolved sapient military capability without external influence. The theory was simple. Either humans had enhanced them, or another buried species had risen. The probe, disguised as a marine microorganism sampling unit, descended silently through the upper thermocline near the South Atlantic. Its cloaking was perfect, its data encryption unparalleled, and its mission surgical: retrieve genetic data and leave without a trace. The unit reached depth and began analyzing the water matrix. Within 20 seconds, its systems detected something impossible. The genetic material of over 50 separate marine species was embedded in the water column in deliberate concentrations. Not diffusion. Arrangement. As if someone had laid a coded pattern into the current. Nanogenetic fractals. When assembled, they formed a molecular structure that translated into logic sequences. They weren't just chemicals. They were a message. The unit tried to uplink the data. It was immediately surrounded. 12 distinct sonar pings enveloped the device. A 13th pulse crushed its transmission gear. It attempted to self-destruct. The sequence failed. Remote overdrive was intercepted and locked out. Then came the disassembly. No explosion, no mechanical action. Just precise, simultaneous implosions along critical seams, as if every bolt had received a separate command from a source it couldn't identify. Nothing made it back to orbit. This time, the Dolphins sent no message. They didn't need to. The galaxy had already started whispering. A senator from the neutral Glory system raised a motion in the Galactic Assembly to officially recognize Earth's oceans as an autonomous biome, protected under sentient non-terrestrial sovereignty. The motion was struck down. It was seen as a diplomatic embarrassment. But the vote had been close. Too close. Something had shifted. Back on Earth, fishing industries collapsed. Cargo vessels avoided routes that brought them near deepwater trenches. Cruise liners vanished from the seas. Ports became silent. Not from coercion. From choice. The oceans began to glow at night with strange bioluminescent patterns visible from orbit, sweeping lines, grids, and occasionally, rings spanning hundreds of miles. Human observers noticed their symmetry matched Fibonacci spirals. No human had made them. Private companies attempted exploration using AI-piloted submersibles. One launched from Iceland, descending into the Greenland Sea. It never returned. What did surface was a human-made buoy, repurposed. Its paint had been stripped, its surface engraved. On it, etched with microsonic carving, was a single phrase in 6 languages: "Stay in the light." A military strategist proposed launching depth charges into suspected dolphin control zones. A coalition of Earth's defense ministers vetoed the plan unanimously. Not from fear of failure, but fear of escalation. A rare video from a decommissioned submarine showed why. During a test run near the Sea of Japan, before the lockdown, the vessel had deployed a low-yield sonic bomb to map a rift wall. Immediately after detonation, over 400 dolphins appeared within 3 minutes. Surrounding the vessel in perfect spherical formation, they emitted synchronized clicks that destabilized the sub's gyrocompass. It was rendered motionless. Then came the sound. Captured by interior mics, it lasted 6 seconds. Like thunder slowed down. Human AI linguists confirmed the structure of the sound followed grammatical rules. It wasn't noise. It was a reprimand. The dolphins let the sub go. A warning. Not a punishment, yet. Meanwhile, the Trell Dominion enacted classified simulations of war against ocean-based sentient threat. The results were devastating. Every simulated fleet entering Earth's seas was defeated within hours. Neural net AI, counter-intrusion routines, adaptive torpedoes, none mattered. Every system that used sound or vibration as a medium was compromised. Not jammed, commandeered. The dolphins weren't just intelligent. They were masters of sonic warfare. The Council's conclusion was horrifying. Earth's oceans had become a perfect sphere of denial. No landing, no tracking, no prediction. A black zone not due to lack of data, but too much. Every square meter of water held listening ears. Every current a moving message. Every species a network node. The dolphins weren't isolated. They were a civilization, a living net. Data retrieved from high-orbit gravimetric satellites showed patterns in sea-level microfluctuations. The variance was not natural. The ocean was pulsing. Once every 72 minutes, a synchronized shift across all oceans. A planetary heartbeat. The pulse did not correspond to the moon, tectonics, or wind. It followed a calendar, a system, a signal. Whales joined the cadence. Squid followed. Sharks began altering migration paths to escort pods. None attacked humans. None harmed shipping vessels that remained outside exclusion zones. They did not strike first. They watched. They warned. One human vessel, an illegal poaching ship, entered the Indian Ocean under blackout. It had no flags, no registration, and its hold was modified for black market extraction. It never reached its destination. A month later, pieces of its hull were found in separate oceans: Atlantic, Pacific, Arctic. Not drifted, delivered. Each section bore the same message, burned in patterns only visible under ultraviolet. We have patience, not mercy. The story reached the outer colonies. Children spoke of ocean gods. Alien philosophers speculated the dolphins had evolved from an ancient Earth catastrophe. Some hypothesized a previous extinction event, one the dolphins remembered. Not through stories, but through instinct refined into strategy. A rogue scientific vessel from the Chelan Dominion attempted to test dolphin intelligence by deploying acoustic decoys with synthetic sonar messages simulating distress. The dolphins responded, not with aggression, but manipulation. They triangulated the origin, sent false responses back, and led the vessel into a dead zone, where it ran out of fuel. 3 days later, the ship was gently guided by waves into port. Its engines drained. Its hull intact. Its communications wiped. The crew reported a feeling of being observed. Not watched. Understood. The Chelan never returned. A human naval veteran named Lieutenant Kessler, retired but known for decades of deep-sea research, published a memoir. In it, he detailed an encounter in 2037, long before the invasion. During a classified sonar mapping of the Challenger Deep, his crew heard structured clicking far below the crushed depth. It mirrored the ship's own signal, then responded faster than their computer could interpret. A pattern emerged. The message, translated years later, said, "We remember the machines. We remember the burning sea. We protect what sleeps." The final phrase haunted experts. "We protect what sleeps." This line circulated through human intelligence network. Could there be something deeper than the dolphins themselves? Another layer? A dormant force? Meanwhile, on the galactic fringe, a rogue entity formed. Known as the Glass Spire Syndicate, it was a technologically radical splinter faction of researchers, pirates, and war theorists who believed the oceans of Earth hid not simply sentient life but technology, pre-human, maybe even pre-organic. Their theory posited that deep beneath the crust lay machines older than the galaxy's oldest empires, their minds stored in pressure-encoded crystalline matrices, shielded by the ocean's immense depth. And the dolphins were their proxies, gatekeepers, bioconstructed emissaries designed to respond only to wisdom, not force. No sonar, no signal, pure precision. It impacted west of the Mariana Trench. 12 minutes after contact, the galaxy changed. Gravity lenses across the sector trembled. Communications satellites tilted. The drill vanished, not destroyed, not vaporized, displaced. It did not return. What emerged instead was a frequency, narrow-band, laser-focused, and encoded with structures that mimicked galactic diplomatic encryption. The source? The sea floor. The message? Only 8 words, repeated in every known language and several unknown ones. Do not awaken what memory dares not hold. The assembly panicked, not because of the words, because of the reaction. On 7 unrelated planets, seismic spikes occurred in oceans thousands of light-years away. Earth wasn't alone. Something deep and ancient existed across multiple worlds, buried under miles of pressure and silence. And Earth's guardians had responded first. The dolphins' response wasn't just protective. It was coordinated. The old theory that they were alone fell apart. This was a network. Humanity quickly withdrew all oceanic research platforms, even weather tracking buoys. Governments redacted data. Satellite focus was ordered away from coast. Scientists protested. Protesters vanished. Silence became compliance. And still the oceans glowed. The glow sharpened near fault lines, not random but tactical. It formed constellations matching no Terran sky, but several from ancient Zalari archives, star maps charted long before Earth had civilization. This suggested not mimicry, but shared history. An idea emerged in secret circles. The oceans had memory. Not metaphorical. Actual hydrologic recall, a neural architecture built from pressure, temperature, and sonic resonance. A planetary mind layered over eons. And dolphins, with echolocation beyond human physics, were the active cortex. A whistleblower from the Interstellar Xenocognition Institute leaked fragments of a report. It confirmed non-random sonar echoes from deep vents, unprompted by vessels or movement. The patterns correlated to linguistic framework. They weren't just talking. They were remembering. Broadcasting past events. Replay loops of battles never recorded in history book. Not human battles. Wars fought before mammals walked land. Replayed in the medium that couldn't decay, sound in water. Earth had a library. One that listened back. The syndicate wasn't finished. They built a second device, not intrusive but bait. A gift, a deep-sea monolith constructed from inert matter, blank, no signal, no power. Just shape. They dropped it at the base of the Puerto Rico Trench. It wasn't destroyed. It was moved. Lifted miles away within hours. Returned to shore, placed upright on a beach in silence. Not damaged, but changed. Along its once smooth surface, new ridges had formed. Etched into the metal in a language no one knew. Not even the dolphins. Linguists studied it obsessively. After months, only one thing was deciphered: a timestamp. A future date just 2 years ahead. Something was scheduled. The galaxy held its breath. A moratorium was placed on all oceanic deployment near Earth. Not enforced by law, but by fear. Vessels that drifted too close experienced malfunctions. AI cores flickered. Hulls hummed without cause. One crew described the sensation of being stared at from every direction at once. They turned back. No contact was ever made. A message from a Terran Marine lab surfaced from before the lockdown, recovered in archived quantum storage. A lone researcher had recorded a final log. I thought they were animals. I thought they mimicked. But I listened for hours, days. The patterns weren't sonar. They were code. Redundancy, recovery, self-correction. The ocean isn't just full of life. It is life. The dolphins aren't protecting us from others. They're protecting it from us. They were never heard from again. Time moved forward. The timestamp approached. When the date came, nothing exploded. Nothing burned. No ship was attacked. Instead, every ocean on Earth calmed to perfect stillness. No waves. No tides. No wind. For 3 hours. Then, a sound. Audible even to orbit. A single tone. Humans heard it in dreams. Animals froze. Machines reset clock. And in the waters, the dolphins rose. Not in attack, not in warning, but in alignment. They formed symbols, circles, arrays. Their motion created interference patterns visible in cloud cover. The waveforms were massive, slow, deliberate. They weren't communicating with humans. They were answering a call. Satellites picked up activity in Europa's subsurface ocean. Triton's ice cracked. Enceladus spouted vapor jets in sequence. These weren't geological. They were rhythmic. Timed to Earth's event. A galactic synchronization. For something beneath. Then, across Earth's deepest trenches, tectonic movement accelerated, but not in randomness. Shapes emerged. Grooves larger than cities, forming hexagonal sequences kilometers long, carved by movement itself. No drill. No bomb. Just pressure directed like a stylus on ancient vinyl. The oceans had woken. And then, nothing. No destruction. No invasion. Just equilibrium. The message was clear. This planet was under the guardianship of something older than diplomacy, deeper than ideology. And the dolphins were its voice, its will, and its blade. The syndicate collapsed. Its members disappeared. Some claimed they'd been silenced. Others believed they'd been recruited. On Earth, coastal nations began installing memorials, not to the lost ships but to the silence. Statues of dolphins, not bound in leashes or tricks, but armored in imagined patterns. Weapons no longer seemed fitting. Understanding became survival. Alien scholars published papers proposing Earth's oceans be considered sacred territory under the law of unbounded sentience. The motion passed with no debate. A final event occurred exactly 1 year after the Great Stillness. A child stood at the shore of the Black Sea. He pointed at the horizon and said, "They're not in the water. The water is in them." No one taught him that phrase. No adult knew what it meant. But linguists, years later, analyzing old dolphin calls, found its exact structure, buried in clicks, dated 23 years before the boy was born. A memory passed through waves, waiting for a voice to echo it. It became doctrine. The galaxy marked Earth's oceans not with borders, but with reverence. No species entered again. Not out of fear. Out of respect. Because in the deep, where light dies and pressure crushes all but the timeless, something thinks. And it dreams in waves.